starring the CryptoKeeper and BlockchainCrusader. Welcome to Debate Crypto. Crypto fam, it is Saturday Night Live. How is everyone? I hope everyone is well. We've got a special guest in the house. We're not just doing the regular Saturday Night Live tonight. We've got MJ in the house. MJ, how you doing, bro?
Good. How are you doing? Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Doing well, man. Thanks for coming on. And as always, we've got Blockchain Crusader in the house. Miguel,
What's up?
everything going well? Yeah.
Good, man. Good.
Good. What do we got on the podium this evening?
We got MJ talking about Zed Run. What is Zed Run? You know, where is the future for Zed Run lies and everything in between those lines. So that's what we're going to be jumping into tonight.
Fantastic. I'm actually going to be jumping into some Chick-fil-A as well. I will go ahead and push the mute button so you guys don't have to hear me chomping away here.
But I mean, there's some people into that. So
well, I mean,
might boost our ratings.
What is that?
ASMR or something like that?
ASMR. Yeah. Hold on a second, real quick side note. Have you ever been sliding through TikTok lives and then have you ran into one of the ASMR TikTok lives?
So weird.
Oh yeah.
It was the weirdest thing, but like in a really weird way, I was like kind of intrigued. I was like, this is weird, but it's like a cool like. And then I was like, okay, yeah, I'm just being weird now. Okay, I gotta go. All right, cool. Let's dive into it, Miguel. I think you've got a number of things. We're going to be speaking a lot about Zed Run this evening. So Miguel, kick it off, bro. What we got?
Yeah. So MJ, the question is, give the audience a brief description of what is Zed Run for people that have never played, don't know what it is.
Yeah, so Zed Run, I refer to it as a platform. Some refer to it as a game. It's a play-to-earn crypto platform based off of Ethereum and wrapped Ethereum on Polygon, so you don't have to pay gas every time you run a transaction. And basically, you can buy, sell, race, and breed digital horses. Each one is totally unique. They have whole trees of, breed lines, bloodlines, different. They're called genotypes for each horse, also known as a Zed number. So yeah, it's a very comprehensive. It's a very deep play to earn crypto Ethereum based platform.
Awesome. So I've been playing Zed Run, right? I've played some. I got a few horses. I got like 4 or 5 horses, and I've tried using, doing some research for the bloodlines. I believe I got a Genesis Buterin, or no, I'm sorry, I got a legendary Buterin. I'm sorry, not a Genesis. I got a legendary Buterin, and then everything else I got, I believe are Finnies, okay, and they're about exclusive to the elite level. So for the audience, what really determines the differences between the genotypes and the bloodlines, and what's that really mean?
So yeah, like you got to look at it kind of 2 ways. You have your on paper breed type. So the seed of Zed Run is based off of a breed type and a bloodline at its core. And then like the subset of that is the genotype. Not really subset, but it's part of it too. So from a breed standpoint, you've got Genesis, and I believe there are 38,000 Genesis horses from which all other horses come from. And when you breed those Genesis horses together, you have different offspring. So you can never breed another Genesis horse. You'd breed what's called a legendary, which you just mentioned. And then from legendary, when you breed, legendary with legendary, legendary with Genesis, you get exclusive. And then from exclusive, then you have elite, cross, and pacer. And depending on how you breed exclusive and elite, if you tie in another Genesis horse, I believe it's the I'm going to mess this up, but if it's the Genesis male, I want to say, into a female that's exclusive or elite, you maintain that breed type.
You know what I thought was super interesting was that it seems to be, at least from the little bit that I know about real horse racing. I've got a buddy of mine that his dad owns horse races and whatnot. It seems to me that whoever set this up actually does have some knowledge on real deal horse racing, because the breeding, like some of the rules, you can't breed like a brother and a sister, like, you know what I mean? Like there's like rules where you can't do things, the blood types, where you say, okay, well, if we've got a Genesis here, and then once we breed them, now we've got to step down a class, because essentially that's what you're doing. If you have a horse in the real world that is a world-class racehorse, once you breed it, it doesn't mean that next horse is going to be the same exact. It just means that it has that blood in it. I thought that was really freaking interesting.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And there are a lot of ways that Zed tries to mimic real horse racing in a way. But that being said, like, this is all on paper. So you got your Genesis Legendary Exclusive Elite, Cross Pacer. Then you have your Nakamoto, which is like the purest blood. And then you have your Zabo, your Finny, and then your Buterin, named after well-known crypto and or privacy security founders, which I think is a pretty cool tie-in.
Yeah, it is a cool tie-in.
And so on paper, and then you have your genotype, which goes from 1 to 268. So on paper, a Genesis Nakamoto Z1 is your best horse. But that's not the reality of it. Like, what I love about
what do those go for? I don't mean to cut you off. What do those go?
No, you're fine. I mean, those are going for 15, 20 ETH at least.
15 or 20 ETH?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say 15 or 20,000, and I was going to say, okay, that's still a lot, but 15 or 20 ETH? Oh my!
There are sales that have exceeded $100,000.
Wow!
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah,
and that's with like no proof of performance, right? That's just for the bloodline, just for the genetics of the potential of the horse.
Yeah, one of them was like, it's a rare one of one coat that they released, like special edition, so coat color is another aspect of these horses. And there are different rarities to the coat colors, and you breed certain coat colors together, you have a certain likelihood of creating a certain coat color.
So then there's big money in this game. I mean, that's not something not something that even somebody that got into crypto early or earlier, Miguel and I have been in for 5 years, right? So we bought things really on the cheap and whatever else. I promise you, 15 to 20 to 30 ETH or whatever. I promise you, I'm thinking about that. I mean, yeah. I'm really thinking about that. That's wild. That's so wild.
And like to your point about there being money in this game, Zed has partnerships with NASCAR, with Stella Artois, with Atari, and now with Netflix doing a promotion. Like
Netflix, wow. When did that come in?
Yeah, that was super recent. It's they have a special, I believe, a track that's out or is coming out soon, tied to a movie or show that they just released. And so, like, if you go to the homepage of ZED.run, you're going to see like Netflix promo on there. So wow. Like Zed's doing big things. They're making big moves. Which is it's pretty awesome. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. So one of the big questions, right? How is somebody profitable at a beginner, right? Because a lot of people that got into Zed Run, get these Genesis horses, they weren't getting them for 15 ETH when the game first came out about, what is it, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago or something like that.
Yeah.
So how can somebody now getting into Zed Run compete or even be somewhat competitive to actually make profit in this game?
So right now, the way to get into Zed from a purchasing standpoint is through OpenSea. And so a Genesis horse right now, a Genesis Buterin, talking about that, $100,000 price tag, that's for like a super rare Z1 and Nakamoto. And we talk about like Genesis Buterins, which are Z8, 9, and 10, which is the, Z10 is the highest genotype for a Genesis. Those are going for like 0.15, 0.2 ETH. So like that's a huge price difference for the floor of those.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how you'd get into it. But as far as making money in Zed, on paper, the economy is a little, in my opinion, lopsided right now. But, the way that you can make money is one, buy a horse and sit on it. So, if you have the money, buy it, sit on it, wait for either ETH to go up, wait for the market to change, and then flip it. 2 would be to buy a horse, race it, and try and get some of your money back. And then, resell at either increased price or discounted price, but to a point where you would, kind of make that ETH back. And you're paid out in ETH, by the way, or yes. Wrapped.
The actual payout is, that's right.
That's wrapped ETH, yeah.
I knew that. Yeah.
And then the other way is through breeding. So The way the breeding works is if you have a male horse, you get to charge a fee
You
depending
breed it
on
with
what
a female?
Yes, yes. It's only male to female breeding.
Okay, got it. I didn't know if it was
And
a little more 2021 or not.
it is not, at least not yet. And so if you have a male horse, there's a, depending on your breed blood of that horse, there's a minimum that you can put your horse out to stud for. Yeah. And so you get a percentage of that. Zed gets a percentage of that. Exactly. It's a stud fee. And so each male gets 3 studs per month or per 28 days. And the kind of the flip of that is if you have the female horse, you're obviously paying, and the male can set whatever price they want to be able to breed. So if you've got a great racer, you can jack up that price in theory. If you have the female horse, they can only breed once per 28 days, but you get to keep the offspring.
Yeah, that's the trade-off.
Like that's
yeah,
the deal.
Exactly.
That's the trade essentially between the two.
100%. Yeah. So like I got lucky with one of my breeds, and bred in my opinion, a really awesome horse who does pretty well. And I paid, I want to say like $500 plus US dollars for it. But that horse is worth probably double or triple that right now.
Wow. Have you been racing it?
Yeah, not recently, but like it's been doing pretty well on the racetrack.
Okay, so would you say that racing or breeding is more profitable?
Oh man, that's tough. Right now, racing, because the way the state of the current market is that you can buy bred horses for cheaper than it would cost you to breed. And I know it doesn't make sense
on OpenSeas.
Yeah, on OpenSea. So a website that I really like to use for breeding is called Hawku or Hawku, HAWKU.com. In my opinion, it's the best resource for going to find a horse that you'd be interested in purchasing. You can do all sorts of filters: blood, breed, genotype, win rate.
Yeah, I've been on there. I've used that quite a bit.
Highly recommend checking out. If you're in Zed, there are a few, in my opinion, like select tools you need to use, and Hawku is one of them for sure.
Well, speaking of, so let me ask you this. So speaking of what you're talking about, a website that is absolutely, dedicated to, tell me how you came up with the idea of your site and how that works and what that looks like. Because I think maybe we jumped in and didn't explain. MJ has which he's getting ready to obviously explain, but MJ has a website that does a whole lot for Zed Run and for people that are interested in Zed Run. Because MJ, let's be real, people are going to be leaving if we can't tell them, hey, how can we maximize the opportunity on making money? People are like, listen, make money. Tell me how to make money. No. So tell me about your website, dude. Tell me what you've been doing there.
Yeah. So, I mean, my website really came about from a guy named Derek Wong, who has a series on medium.com called Cracking the Zed Run Code. Super nice guy, great guy. I talk to him, every few days, week. And he's been just absolutely awesome. And he kind of had this article that came out about, horses' speed and kind of what that looks like. And in my 9 to 5, I do a lot of reporting and like data analysis for the company that I previously worked at. And it's like, hey, how can I apply this to kind of, I'm buying, what he's telling us about speed and things. How could I, like quantify that? How can I build this out into a report? And it originally started into a Google Data Studio, in which I would go into a website called knowyourhorses.com, which is also just another just crucial website you have to be using. It's great, stable overview and just kind of horse overview. And I would manually take the data from there, put it into a Google Sheet, which I would then feed into Google Data Studio and build these crazy reports off of. And then I got access to the basically to a giant data dump. And it was like, okay, let's build this out. Let's give this out to the masses because,
what do you mean you got access? What do you mean by you got access?
There's a website. It wasn't anything special. It's not anything crazy. If you go into the Zed Discord, there's a channel for data, and it's right there. I'm working on some like direct API connections with Zed right now. But in the kind of time frame right now, I'm using this data dump, which refreshes about every day or so.
Are you having to ask them directly for that API? If Miguel and I, let's say, wanted to have an API, are you going directly through them or?
No, so it's basically public, more or less,
Yeah.
without having to ask them for it. But they've kind of rate limited it, I guess is a good way of describing it.
What do you mean?
Meaning
And
it
that,
doesn't refresh often.
yeah, that, and you don't need, or like it's they'll kind of cut you off if you try and pull them like too hard, like try and pull too much data at one time. So a
We
lot
found
of
that out.
the
We found that out, didn't we, Miguel?
Yeah.
the a lot of the players in the kind of analytics space have gone about, from what I've heard, whitelisting, and I'm not there yet. I'm kind of a few steps behind that, working with I'd say like my web host for this type of project, to make sure that they can handle the requests that I want at the speed that I want before moving forward with Zed right now.
Yeah, yeah. So let's bring up your tool and explain it, because I've been on there. I've looked at it. I've looked at my own horses a little bit here and there, but even then, I don't really know how to utilize it at its maximum potential.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, it's refreshing right now. This is my website, MJinformatics.com. It is completely free to use, and basically, I wanted to create a site where people could come and get into. I talked about Haku for buying a horse. ZedRun.tools is great for breeding. Know Your Horse is good for like stable overview. They have some speed stuff on there too. Fantastic guys and people just behind all of those websites. I wanted to create something that's like the nitty gritty. Like I want to know every single detail about my horse from a racing perspective. And so, yeah, I created basically a tool called Zetalytics, and it's a lot to take in right now. We'll cut some of this down. I'll plug in the name of one of my horses. This is that bred horse I was talking about earlier. Gold
nice
War.
name, Gold War.
Oh yeah, right. It's a golden rod, which is a rare coat. I was like, yeah, that's a fun name.
Where
Let's
are you
go
seeing the
for it.
name? I don't see that at all.
He just typed it in.
I just typed in it,
okay.
and it's
I got
refreshing
you.
right now. You see the little
got you.
spin. Okay, so yeah, so it's gonna pop up right here. So I mean, up top we have kind of filters. So there's obviously the name, race type. So there are free races, there are paid races in Zed. And I have it set to all just because of the way the ecosystem is currently. There's like a big balance between free and paid, and it's either all free or all paid. Originally, I had this on paid. And then here, your class, I have it class 1 to class 5, which is a standard class system within Zed currently. And the other classes outside of here, you have class 0, that's Griffin race. That's every horse's first race, but it's only one race. So I've kind of cut that out as an outlier. But you can definitely include it by moving one of this slider over. And then
Can you make money on your very first race? Can you like put down a bunch of money for your first race? Can you say, hey, I want to go into a big
they're
time
free
first race?
currently, but you could make like, I think the prize pool for that is $40 split between the first 3 places.
But they don't have like an option where you're like, hey, I believe in this horse. I'm going in on my very first 0 race and say, hey, I want to go 1 ETH on this or whatever. You like,
sure. So there was a kind of, I'll call it a controversy recently about this, in that it somehow got leaked that you could pay for a Griffin race. And that got apparently was a bug and got removed very, very quickly. So right now the Griffins are all free. As far as what it costs to enter a race, you're looking at $2.50. It's basically $2.50, 5, 10, I think 15, 20, or 25, maybe 50, 100, and I think 500 per race, US dollars. And that's taken off of a WETH or a WETH balance from your account. So we've got the kind of the class filters up here, and then the race day. So if you have a horse that has had a lot of races, is really old, these really just help kind of drill down as the kind of ecosystem, the platform changes. It's really helpful to really kind of drill down to be like the most current version of the ecosystem, so to speak. Here you have your races per day. That's important because your horses suffer from fatigue. So if you race your horse more than, right now I believe it's currently 5 to 8 times in a 12-hour period, you're going to suffer big performance kind kind of negativity or big performance loss. So you want to be mindful of that. And then so this is the big, scary, overwhelming part of the tool right here. That people can get lost in. And I'll do my best to kind of summarize this as quickly as possible. So it's right now you have all of the distances that your horse has raced at. There are 9 different distances, and the sort is not necessarily shortest to longest, but it's it's kind of I call it a distance guide is applied to your horse based off of some high level performance metrics, looking at performance, your finish distribution, your speed, your average place, as a way of saying, hey, this may be where you should be racing. Look at the top few values, try and decide within there where you should be racing. Your average class. So this is important because, we talked about classes up here. When after your Griffin, if you've got a Z12 legendary Buterin horse, you're going to start off and you don't win your Griffin, most likely in class 5. And so that's important for understanding, like, where has a race or where's a horse been run, and like, where has the previous owner run it? Where am I running it? Where should it be run? Because I'm looking at performance based off of this class. So I see, average class of 2.35. If I'm racing this horse in class 5, it's probably going to perform a lot better than what I'm going to see in this chart. Here's your number of races. Your distance frequency is how often you're hitting that distance within a 24-hour period. So
what are these number scales going in between, though?
For your average class?
Well, yeah, like the average class, the distance, the average like what are these? What is it? 1 to 5? Is it 1 to, like, what's the well? Oh, it's literally taking the actual which class it's in. It's literally taking the actual like when it says distance 2.4. Well, how are you, where's that number coming from?
Oh yeah, so it's cut off because I'm really zoomed in for the stream, but this is a distance frequency. So it's how often you're running at that particular distance within a 24-hour period. So it's basically saying, hey, the previous owner or current owner really likes running this distance a lot. So hey, you really like running 2,400, but that may or may not be your best distance. And then you really like running 2,200, and you don't like running 1,400 because that's at the lowest of like one time per 24-hour period. Average place. Each race has 12 horses in it. Like there's no smaller amount. It's absolutely 12. So within, that 1 to 12 spot, where are you finishing on average? Fire, also known as flames, that's an indicator of the potential or the likelihood for your horse to finish 1, 2, or 3. That is not a guarantee. And that's honestly a mistake I see a lot of new players making.
Well, how does this says 100%? That one in the middle there, 5 down.
Well, it always gets flames out of 2,600, right? Pinky Smalls gets pretty much almost 100% flames. It gets a lot of flames at, I think it was 2,000 meters, but it doesn't win often. I can tell you that.
and so that's the key word, is likelihood. I see a lot of like newer, younger players in stables going for just following the flames, and that's often a big downfall for them. So I mean, just looking at this example here, we've got 100% flames, 3 races, which is not a great sample size, but the average place is 8.33, whereas here I have 65% flames and I'm getting an average place of 4.26. Like huge difference. And like that's the kind of thing that, again, like I want you to see and understand here about your horse. So the analogy that I like to use is that this is your kind of like your big research, you're evaluating a team, you're getting into a crypto or NFT, you're evaluating the team, the Discord, the socials, the tokenomics of it. This is, each one of these columns is a piece of those aspects that you should be evaluating when looking at a horse, whether you're buying or it's in your current stable. Each one of these is a piece to a puzzle. And the more pieces of the puzzle that you can put together, the clearer your picture is going to be on your horse's success.
What would you say if you had to pick one, if you had to X out all of these except for one, what column are you keeping?
This one right here, first through third percent.
Okay. And that's first through third, the finish, first through third?
Yep. So this is, if I'm doing a horse review on stream, this is usually where I'm starting. If I switch it up, I'm just trying to show perspectives way of using the tool.
Okay.
And this to me is the most important because this is the truest. Whereas odds, or like odds, which used to be kind of a odds of winning, horse racing, pretty straightforward.
Right.
Fire has kind of been a replacement for odds. But this is the true value. This is the real number behind it. This is all theoretical, both of these columns. And then you obviously have
that's
your
also
fee,
where
your
you make
profit.
money as well, right? 1 through 3 is where you're going to make money, right?
100%. 100%. So like this to me is the most important column. And when I'm evaluating, I focus on win percent in 1st through 3rd, 4th through 8, 9 through 12. This to me is the core of the analysis. And then you've got, we'll talk about this a little later, but kind of the fringe on the outside. And then, where you're finishing your fire percent, that's kind of fringe on another side in a different way of looking at it. But this is the core that you really need to be focusing on.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I always focused on the kilometers per hour and the standard deviation on that to try to see if the horse performed very well at a certain distance. But
that can definitely be helpful, and I think that's most helpful with a lightly raced horse, where you're starting to see something emerge. Maybe it has 5 races, and across those 5 races, it's running really fast and has a really tight deviation. So like, hey, this could be a sign of potential. I'm willing to take a risk on that, especially if it's backed by performance. But this is the key right here, is the actual finished distribution of a horse. Because this ties into your profitability. It ties to marketability. So even if you aren't super profitable, you're racing class 5, which is the lowest class, $2.50 races. And there's nothing wrong with that. I have a ton of horses that are like that too. But if you can get that up so that, it's you go from, a 3% winner to a 20% winner, your horse is going to become immensely more valuable, even if it's in the same class, still class 5, $2.50.
Okay.
So, well, first of all, I guess my question is, are people paying for this, or is this free?
This is completely free.
Okay, I already knew the answer to that, but I wanted to let everybody know.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Incredible, because I feel like there's a lot of value here. So, guys, if none of you have figured this out yet, excuse me, the information that MJ has put out here on his site, it's totally free, right? So if you're into Zed Run, or even if you're not into Zed Run, and you get in and you're like, you know what, I'm going to buy a horse. Okay, cool. Well, guess what? Doing your research would be going to MJinformatics, right? And so we always talk about doing your own research, DYOR, do your own research, right? So the answer in Zed Run of doing your own research, or at least a big part of it, could be going to MJinformatics. There is actually information here, right? A lot of it that can tell you, hey, this is a good investment. This is a bad investment. Statistically, this would be a better option than looking at this. And I think that it's crazy freaking cool, dude, that you're giving that away to people for free, because the fact is people are making money as a result of doing an analysis from the data that you're putting out there. And so I just wanted to applaud you on that, dude. That is that's pretty freaking cool. I like that. I like it.
Thank you. I honestly, I love that. Like, I love nothing more than people messaging me and saying, hey, I just won $150 this month because of your tool. We were racing our horse completely wrong. We were losing money. And then, hey, we just made $150 off of it. And now we're profitable. And hey, we're on the upswing. Like it's very filling. It's very filling.
Yeah.
And it is. And it is free. I do, like, full plug, I do accept donations.
Cool.
But if you donate to me on stream, whether on stream or off, there's a donate button on the bottom here, support.
Yeah.
You're automatically entered, whether it's $1 or however many you can afford to do. If you find value in this, you're entered into a monthly drawing to win a free horse, or to win a horse.
That's cool. That's super cool, dude. What a cool idea.
Every $5 you donate is an extra entry to get that horse, so it increases your chances. And then if you're the highest donator for the month, you get a free breed with one of my horses, you get a free horse, and you get a free written up to 10 horse full stable analysis.
Wow,
that's super cool.
That is a full stable analysis, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, how did you come up? I mean, like you told me that in your, you were talking about earlier your 9 to 5, right? It does a lot
Yeah.
of has a lot of data points, data sets. Did you just really love Zed Run for what it looked like and you were like, "Man, I feel like I can bring something to the table here with my 9 to 5 type information and put it in over here?"
Yeah. So I mean, I enjoy what I do for my day to day. And Zed is a dangerous combination for me because it's in a way, for lack of better word, gambling. It's sports. It's
Yeah.
it's tech. It's performance analysis. It's market analysis, and you're wrapping all of those things into one platform, and gaming all into one platform.
Yeah,
Like that is like
Oh
my
yeah.
that's like my ultimate.
right.
It's perfect for me.
Yeah.
And
So oh, go
go
ahead. Go
ahead.
ahead.
I was
No,
just
no, go
saying,
ahead.
I view it as, if I can create something that can help someone else, then that helps the community, that helps the platform, and then the platform grows, and then this platform that I love continues to grow and improve, and like we all move forward together, and like that is just a win across the board. No one loses that way.
Right.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I want to get back to your tool. So can you explain a little bit about the speed, the kilometers, and how that works and what does it really mean? Because it's been one of the things that I've struggled the most to understand.
Sure. So the speed is, yeah, it's in kilometers per hour. When you race in Zed, it's a finish time. And this is kind of a shout out or an homage to Eric Wong. He talked about speed in kilometers per hour. So I started to do it that way as well. And so what makes kind of my site, in my opinion, a little more unique than some of the other tools out there, which are all great, is that I've taken a step to attempt to normalize the speeds. So it was brought out. Some excellent research was done by Know Your Horses. I suspected, and I think a handful of other people in Zed have suspected something similar, that something was kind of up with races. Some of them were like really fast, some of them were really slow. Didn't quite make
Yeah.
sense. Know Your Horses really kind of put it out there, by basically saying that, hey, Zed actually does make some races faster and slower. So I took the Zed average, I normalized all of the races to the Zed average, and then normalize your horse's speed to that Zed average, so you can get like a true indicator of how your horse is running. And so like I mean, this number in the average kilometers per hour, and again, it's cut off because I'm zoomed in so much. But it's kind of a ballpark. And just as an FYI, 12 or 1,000 meters is just naturally run faster than all their distances. But what's kind of
Yeah.
interesting or kind of important, especially if you're buying a lightly raced horse, is the versus Z column. And so you can kind of see, okay, versus the Z average, am I truly running faster or slower than those horses, and by how much? And kind of a benchmark that I like to say is, if you have a decent sample size and you're running 0.2 plus kilometers per hour faster at a distance, that's usually pretty good. Now, obviously, standard deviation is something to take into consideration as well. So, for those that may not be familiar that are watching, standard deviation is basically the width in which you are running. Are you running most of your races consistently at one speed? Are you running a handful of your races super fast, super slow? Is that, super wide standard deviation? Or are you pretty consistently hitting it on the nose? That's a very small standard deviation. So think of it as like, what is your max speed? What's the difference between your max and your min speed? Very high level. And if you are running super fast, but you have a small standard deviation, that's probably going to be a good sign of a pretty high performing horse that's going to finish in the top half, the top few places pretty often. But if you have
Okay.
a low standard deviation, or like a wide standard deviation in a slower speed, that might not be a great thing. Or if you have a small standard deviation in a slower speed, that's definitely not a great thing. So again, focusing on these percentages here, and these are kind of, further kind of boosts or outliers. So, I look at 2,400 right here for Gold War, 53% first through third at 47 races. That's a pretty solid sample size. And look at that speed. It's at 0.34 faster than Zed. Its standard deviation's pretty spot on or close to, but that doesn't matter as much because it's running it super fast. And
Okay,
what
so
yeah, and kind of what that's visualized, and we can, so you can click on anything in here. So let's click on the 2400, and you'll actually see this update in real time, all live. So what you're looking at here is the white and the red triangles. Each red triangle is a race that your horse has run, every single race at that distance. And the white triangles are the average for Zed at that class. So class 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is class 1 paid, class 1 free, class 2, 3 paid, class 4 paid, class 5 paid. And you can kind of see, well, okay, if I'm racing, class 4 paid all the way back here, there are a handful more of red triangles or races where I've run faster than that, arguably performing better, versus class 1 where, hey, there can be a handful that are at right back here or below, but still performing pretty well.
So I have a question. So I have a horse, right? And at first it was performing decently well, having a lot more averages of winning than losing. But then out of nowhere, it just got into a deep losing streak. So is there fluctuations where what is it, like new horses coming on scene that just are better than the horse you have, and your horse just starts to not perform as well anymore? Is it like an aging thing as the horse gets older? The horse starts dying out and it doesn't run as fast anymore. So what are your thoughts about that?
So there, I guess my follow-up would be, when did you start to notice that? Do you know?
So I started in Zed Run around the beginning of September or late August, and then the horse was performing pretty well in the first half of September, and then after the second half of September, I started to nosedive into deep loss streaks and would take like one win out of every like 10 races or something at best.
All right. So around September is when they started to change. There were some changes in things.
Okay.
And I actually have another page on my site that would kind of talk about that. It's called the State of Zed, where it's just kind of a holistic overview of Zed. But you would see some overall, like, kind of general ecosystem changes at that point. And along with that, there have been some tournaments that have been introduced to Zed, which are great. They're awesome. But that being said, you have now class, 2-1 horses racing in class 3 or 4, which will make the competition in class 4 a lot more difficult. But they're kind of holding out for the next tournament to come around so that they can get that early performance boost by crushing class 4 and class 3. And if you look here, what I have here, I mean, we don't have to go through all of this data. But this is another, again, free tool, free site. But this is looking at the speed metrics for all horses in Zed. And you can obviously click through all different filters if you want to filter by certain breed or blood. So this is the top 75 percentile average, or their speeds. And you can see right here in September 2021, that plummeted. And you can see that the bottom 25 shot up, while the average continued to grow, and the standard deviation got a lot tighter. So you can definitely see, like, it's like looking at, like trends in a market of like, okay, we're continuing pretty consistently, and then, hey, there's a big plummet. And along with that plummet, you're going to see performance changes. So this is kind of a way for people to, again, holistically, we don't have to go into super big detail about this.
I think my horse was leading that charge.
State of things. Yeah, a lot of work. But yeah, I want to, and I may be saying this wrong. You guys are definitely more the crypto experts, but like, I'd like to think of from a crypto standpoint of like, my site could provide good technical analysis for your horses, for your stable.
That's what I was literally going to chime in and say. You've basically got TA for your for the horses, which is super freaking cool. I do have a question, just because I don't know this. Are you familiar with a game called Deviation?
Yes. I wouldn't say I'm familiar. I've heard of it.
Okay. So I didn't know if that came first or if Zed Run came first. Do you know?
I believe Zed came first.
Okay.
In fact, I'm almost positive Zed did.
I had a couple people in the chat ask why we were talking about the D-Race knockoff, and I was like, I don't think this is a D-Race knockoff. I think that Zed came first. I didn't know if you knew. So I was just kind of curious as to if you had seen that, if you'd seen, have you seen, and I know this is a little bit off topic, but have you seen the differences between the two? Are they pretty similar, or do you know?
The horses definitely look very different. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Like
So
what?
Zed Run's horses have like the digital style looking cool
Yeah.
horses, right? They have more of the natural color
Looks
of
like
a
a
horse,
natural looking horse,
but the graphics don't look as nice. So
hold on. So the D race graphics are not as good as Zed, but Zed looks more
Zed's more digital, right? They have the
Right.
cool color, the shiny colors, and then
Right.
D-Race, from what I've seen, have like the brown spot with the white spots, like
Right.
a natural horse color.
Okay.
But they don't look as good as the Zed Run.
I liken Zed to looking like a Tron versus Real.
Yes.
Mhm.
Tron.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No doubt. Well, this is freaking cool, dude. Do
you see any real competition coming from D-Race, or they're still got a long way to go?
I'll say no, but I also don't know much about D-Race.
Okay, no worries. No worries.
Yeah.
So what would you say somebody's getting? So let's say somebody's in the chat right now that's not very familiar. Somebody's either in the TikTok or right here in YouTube, and they're like, wait a minute, like, so what would be if you could give a new beginner, like a noob, the best advice that you would give to somebody that's just getting in? What would you tell them?
Okay, so I love this question. I would tell them to start off by looking at the Zed Run guide. This is kind of like their white paper, if you will. And I'll pull it up in my my share here. So this walks you through everything from creating the MetaMask account to creating your stable to going over an overview of the genotype, the breed, the blood, the calculations for breeding a specific color and what that looks like. Color rarities. Like, go through this first, and then I'll plug myself again. Another tab on my site is resources, and what this is this is an auto updating feed of a lot of the major, not all, creators within Zed. So we talked about Know Your Horses earlier. Boom, you got the link here. Haku, you got the link here. Breeding color calculator, excuse me, you got the link here. Zed Run tools for looking at lineage, you got it here. So this is just an automated, like an RSS feed. So if you want to learn, if you just want to digest information about Zed, this is updating every few hours. You've got big names, San Francisco Tribe, Jarek, Zed Run itself, their updates in their posts, Unrecruited Podcast, Zed Guru, myself, and you just keep scrolling. You can see the little updater down here, and it's going to just continuously. Got a bunch more from Jarek, San Francisco Tribe. It's so just
at the end of the day, I mean, you would be telling people at the end of the day, you'd be telling people exactly what we tell people when they're getting into a crypto project. Hey, do your research, get involved, figure out something that makes sense for you and that you full on understand before you just go in and roll the dice and go to OpenSea and say, that's kind of cool. That one's cool. I'll buy that.
100%. You will strike out so hard if you don't do that. Like, go through the resources, go through the guide, come up with the budget, and come up with the strategy. Do you want to be a racer? Do you want to be a breeder? Do you want to be a combination of both?
Yeah.
What does that look like? What can you afford to buy given the current market? How has that market looked over the past, few weeks, months? What are horses actually selling for?
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. I mean, as it relates to the horses actually selling, how? Let's say somebody gets in and they say, "Hey, I want to breed, right? I want to make money and I want to breed." How often are these horses like legitimately set? Like, is it like even with a good horse and with decent prices, it could take a while, or is it? I mean, is it popping off? You feel like enough that these horses are selling?
Given the current state of the market, it's a lot harder to sell. It's very much a buyer's market right now. That could change. I think when some adjustments are made to the class system, that's going to change. And you can actually find some good opportunity buying versus breeding at this point, which kind of hurts, the people that come in and want to be, hey, I want to be a strong breeder. But, if like my horse Gold War, I bred for, I don't even know, a few hundred. I think I said 500 earlier. I think that's right. And it is worth, 4x that easily right now. And I could probably get close to that pretty quickly, I would think.
Wow.
You know, I could be wrong. You know, a lot of it also goes into like marketing. And
Really?
if you know, my horse Gold War has a Twitter account, and you start racing, you get into class.
Did you just
2.
say your horse has its own Twitter account?
Yeah, it does. Gold War horse.
Ah.
Hasn't tweeted in a while. I kind of had to put the reins on him, so to speak.
Ba-dum-tsh. Good
Yeah,
one.
right. And it you know, if you can race in class 2, class 1, and you're racing against some of the other big names, which is rare and it's very hard to do. I don't want to give anyone any sort of like assumption that, oh my gosh, I just bred a horse, I can compete with the best. That's, you have a very small percentage chance of doing that. But if that were to come true, if that were to happen, like you're going to start to get noticed by other people, and they're going to start to follow your stable and start to learn about you. Okay. And that's really going to help drive up value a lot too.
So I have a question for the breeding, but before we dive deeper into the breeding, my follow-up question to what Nick was saying earlier about, you know, becoming a breeder and starting out. Let's say I've done my research. I've read the white paper. I've done all my research there. I have a budget of 1 ETH and I want to be a racer. What would be my go-to? Like what would I be looking for in case of like bloodlines, breeding types, to be saying, well, this is going to be a pretty decent setup to be a performing stable?
So, I mean, do you want to go all in on one? Do you want to try and split that up between, 2 or 3 horses? So like I bought a horse that's close to a 20%, if not more, winner for 0.16 in class 4 consistently.
Is 20% winner? Is that a solid?
Yeah, that's good. If you're winning 10+% of the time, 12+% of the time, that's a really good number. That's a really good
number. Okay.
And so, yeah, like I did a lot of, again, like that kind of tactical analysis of like, okay, here's my budget. Here's what I'm willing to spend. Here's the kind of performance metrics I want to look at. And I think Haku is great for that. Really just kind of plug it in. You can find Buterins and Finnies that can outperform Nakamoto's and Zabos. It just kind of depends on where they are. Like that exists. That's a thing. It's not necessarily super common, but it's a thing. So I'd go to a site like Haku if I'm looking to buy, and I can pull it up here too, if that would be helpful. And they have they've done an awesome job here, and I can zoom in a bit. These filters right here. So you can put in, hey, I want to spend max 1 ETH, and I want to look, okay, let's just look at Genesis and Legendary, because I know those are pretty high, and I don't have to worry about trying to keep, the breed type. And then I want to look at Nakamoto, and I'm just shift clicking to go down to Finny. I can select color rarity. I can look at win percent of, let's look at 12%. They've raced at least 10 times. So still kind of lightly raced. I
feel like they're going to come back and say like 0 horses.
Yeah. and here you go. Like you've got options out there at different values. So like we're getting 0.3, 0.85, Z9 Finny Legendary, Z10 Finny Legendary, 75 races with 8 free, and 12% winner, almost 30% show rate. Like that's not bad, and it's a rare coat color. So like this would be the way. I wouldn't necessarily say, hey, if you come at me with 1 ETH, you need to buy a Z2 Legendary Nakamoto male female combo done. No, see what the market has for you. Again, you're setting your goal. You're setting your budget. My goal, I want to be a racer. My budget, 1 ETH. Plug it in, see what the market says, and then see if there's anything that really kind of draws to me. This is sorting by newest. I can sort by win rate, high to low. Here you go. 18 races, 69 free, with a 44% win rate.
Is this
0.8?
Oh, go ahead, Nick.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, is this website in any type of way, shape, or form? Let's say I'm buddies with the guy that runs this site. Is my horse gonna show up because he's my boy? Or like, is this paid? I guess is what I'm asking. Of your knowledge, do you believe that anybody is basically greasing the skids here?
And on this website, absolutely not. Okay. Know Your Horses, absolutely not. Cool. This is purely, it's pulled from the Zed API and pulled from OpenSea.
Okay.
So your price is pulled from OpenSea, your performance pulled from here, and it is exactly how you see it.
And if you hit buy from Haku, they're taking a transaction fee, or it's taking
no, they take it on OpenSeas.
They take it right to OpenSea.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
And it's completely free.
Cool.
Haku did get some funding. I don't know what that's going to look like in the future, but just that was a part of their blog post. So I don't know how things will change there, but yeah, that's the current state of things. But it's I've talked to the guy that runs it. He's a fantastic guy. He's a super nice guy, and I believe he truly wants nothing but good things for the community.
So what would you value more, the win rate, right, or the sample size of how many races? Like, what would be a good sample size to go off of? Because earlier we saw a horse for 0.03 had 12% win rate or 10% win rate, and it had like 70 something races. This horse only has 18 races, but has a 44% win rate. So how would you calculate those two horses and compare them?
That's a great question. And again, that really ties back to your budget. So do you have, you're taking the ultimate lotto ticket, the ultimate gamble. And the one thing I will advise all Zed Run players to not do is buy an unraced horse. No matter what.
Buy an unraced horse.
Do not buy an unraced horse.
Do not.
That is the ultimate lotto ticket. It's a scratch card. It could be amazing. It's super high upside, and it's the absolute worst downside.
It's like a meme board.
It is, yeah. And versus if you buy, a horse like this, let's say that has, instead of 18, that's 100 races, and hypothetically this would be astronomical, but just giving the numbers.
Well, actually, it says 18 plus 69. So why is the 69 not counted?
So free races are, for lack of a better word, less difficult than paid races. They're you don't necessarily run the same that you do in paid races. Okay. So that's why, and I kind of like that, they've taken the time to separate this out. I like focusing on paid races. The ecosystem has changed recently. That's why on my site, it starts at all, but you can switch between free and paid like very easily. But the more races you have with more consistent performance, you're going to pay more of a premium. So to me, in my opinion, that sweet spot is, depending on how you feel with your technical analysis, kind of to use the term, like going like 10 to 20 races looking for performance. And especially if the person that owned the horse, like let's say you've got a 10% win rate at 20 races, and those wins came from the same distance in the same class at the same fee. Like you're looking for consistency when you're looking at a lightly raced horse versus a horse that has, 25% win rate across the same amount of races, but it's only one race, one distance. And like, the consistency isn't there. So when you're looking for lightly raced, which I think is where the best value is, you need to look for consistency.
How is it saying that 44.4%? Is that because that
I believe that's based off the 18?
What's that?
I believe that's based off of the 18.
Yeah, but 18 out of how many races?
Let's scroll through.
Because ultimately the math, at least on the front page, unless I can see everything, is not correct.
So the win rate is based only on the paid races, not on the
correct
free races at all.
Either way, it's not 47. It's not 47.1%.
Yeah, so it's got 8 out of 17 win rate.
You're considering a win. Hold on a second.
First place. Wins first place.
That's not what they showed on the front page, though. What was on the front page? It said
44, and I think that's taking into consideration the win or the paid races plus the Griffin.
Okay.
Versus,
I wasn't trying to be difficult. I was just trying to figure out.
No, it's a very good question, though. It's a very good question. Always question the data. I think it's win. It's paid in Griffin versus paid Griffin and free.
Gotcha. That's interesting.
Okay.
It's a really good win rate.
Yeah. But it's also almost an entire ETH, so that's almost over $4,000. So
how are you going to make this back? And like thinking about that, is it going to be flipped? Is there room for me to improve the quality of this horse to raise the value, or is ETH going to go up? That could increase the US dollar value. Or is the market going to change? That could increase the value. Like there are, and I hate, but I love it. Just there are so many different considerations about Zed, which I think is what makes it, beautiful. It's so deep.
Yes. Yes.
In that, yeah.
So a little while ago, we are talking about breeding, right? You talk about how you bred that horse for $500, and it's a great horse. And I've seen some podcasts, I've seen some episodes on Twitch, right, talking about breeding. I've seen, I think his name is Dr. Ian, and I forgot who.
Red Gazette, Dan Shan, XYZ Talk. Those are the three kind of big groups.
Yeah, so I've seen a few people talk, and they've talked about making twins, and they've talked about breed, like inner breeding outward to then breed back inward. So can you cover that a little bit? Figure out like what is a decent strategy on breeding if you're going to decide to be a breeder for competition?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, there are three kind of main schools of thought when it comes to breeding right now. And so the one of them is presented by, and I apologize to all of the main breeding theory people. I'm going to try and summarize these as succinctly and high level as possible. You've got Dr. Ian and Zed Gazette, also known as ZG. And basically they took the idea of inbreeding from real horse racing. And that, like, when you can inbreed and you can kind of like fold down on certain lineages, you can increase the performance of your horses.
So they didn't get the inbreeding idea from West Virginia. They got it from
correct. Yes. And so that's super high level. That's one way of looking at it. And then you have Dan Shan, who has come up with a breeding ability. And I don't know if he still believes this, but at one point he was talking about, different colored balls as basically being different like traits or skills that are passed down. He had looked at a horse's Griffin race in its first few races, and also looked at horse's offspring, and then tried to correlate that back to the parent to find breeding pairs. So that's the kind of the Dan Shan method. And then there's the XYZ Talk method, which looks at three characteristics. So a base ability, which the Zed Run team has basically confirmed is a thing. And I think of that as just kind of like a core ability of a horse. And then on top of base ability, you have distance preference. So is it a sprinter, marathoner, middle racer? And then variance. So, is it going to finish first and last a lot? Going back to kind of like our conversation about standard deviation. Or is it going to finish more in the middle? Is it going to finish in the first third? Like, what does that look like? So, according to, I believe, what the Zed team has said is that the only thing that's really confirmed passed down is that base ability. So they have worked on trying to quantify base ability, and identifying that as, hey, this is a good breeding metric you should look at. Those are the publicly talked about breeding methods at this time.
Publicly talked about. Anything else is top secret, still not for public knowledge.
No comment. And I think each has their own merit, and I think each has their own value for sure. I will say there was recently a tournament in Zed that was called the Maiden, which is, hey, you have to breed a horse. You have 6 races to figure out your horse. And then, but you've picked your horse, boom, it's selected. Then you have 6 races to figure it out, and you can't change horses, but then that horse is in a tournament.
6 races to figure out like what distance you want to race it at.
Yeah. And to like perform best in the, yes, exactly. And the winner of that tournament was Dan Shan. So one
of the founders of the 3.
Yes, exactly. So his tool though is not free. I will say that his tool goes for an ETH.
A month, a year, forever?
I think it's forever. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But all the other kind of like theories, content, etc., are free. So whether that's luck, whether that's skill, it could be a little bit of both. I don't know, but he did win the maiden tournament, which was focused on breeding. That being said, a good friend of mine is running a Breeders' Cup soon, so we'll see what happens there too, which I think will be super interesting.
So now that you brought up this fact about tournaments, how do these tournaments play? This is like a third-party thing that you guys are doing outside of Zed, and you guys are keeping track of your own thing, or is this like kept track of inside of Zed, and Zed actually has the event?
So Zed just finished their first official, I'll call it first party tournament, which was cool. It's a lot of fun. It was 30 races, and if you were in the top, 192 horse cutoff across three different marathon, mid distance, and sprinter. If you're in a top cutoff of that, you got to move on to the next round, and so, which is pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. I would say, though, for as far as tournaments go, there are really two big names. The first one being Pony Plug, and they do a lot of awesome charity work. Shout out, I believe they're doing a stream right now. It's called Extra Life for Kids, where they donate to kids who are suffering from cancer. So they do a lot of events around that. And the other big one is Zombie Racing. And Zombie Racing tournament is a lot of fun. They have their own token behind the tournament that gets you into the different tournaments. Those are tied to different colors, breed, blood. Some of the tournaments are, color locked. Some are blood locked. Some can be, hey, you just have a token, you're in, which is super cool. I'm telling you, Zed is deep. Zed is very, very deep in the crypto NFT space. But the beautiful thing, and I love about the zombie tournaments, is, it's not just for the best of the best horses. They have, they had the maiden tournament, which is basically like, hey, let's take our lotto tickets and run them and see what happens. They have some that are for the best. There's one called the Dons. Like, hey, you think you're the best of the best. There's another one called the Donkeys, where you had to have below a certain win rate. Like, you had to have a really bad horse to be in it. And it's like, who is the best of the bad horses? So it's Zombie does a great job.
I should have entered that one.
Of really adding accessibility to the platform, which is really cool. Really, really cool.
Oh, man, missed out on that donkey race because, dude, I got a big load of donkeys that I could be racing.
I'm sure there'll be many, many more to come. There's so many people in the Zed community that are all about accessibility and all about trying to provide and bring value. Not every horse is going to be profitable. Not every horse will make you money. That's 100% fact. It's unfortunate, but it's true. And it is a risk to get involved with this, just like any other crypto NFT project. But people are trying to provide utility, which is really neat.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of creativity that goes into this, and I think that people that truly want a taste of just being able to enjoy the NFT space, being able to enjoy the crypto space, being able to enjoy, like you were talking about, like sporting, and then the actual data, the data sets that really give 100%. You, there's just a lot there, and it's really deep. And I think a lot of times it seems like people, I can't tell you how many times I've told people about Zed Run, and it's almost every time, unless they're like a uber crypto nerd like me and Miguel or whatever. It's almost every time they look at me with this really blank look, and the look says, "You're an idiot." And I'm like, wait a minute, because at the end of the day, like, what happens is they're like, hold on a second. Are you trying to tell me that they have a digital bloodline? Wait a minute. You can breed. You can what? And there's Oh no.
Yeah,
right?
I blew my dad's brains out when I told him about it. He was just mind blown. Like, what? At first, I just told him I bought a horse, and he's like, "Yeah, okay, where are you gonna put that thing?" And then I told him, "Well, it's a digital horse
in the backyard."
Yeah. So he's like, "Oh, so it's just a picture or something." He just thought it was like an NFT picture of a horse. And then when I started telling him about the bloodlines and it races and it breeds, and he's like, "Wait, what? You can make the horse breed and have another horse and all this stuff?" Mind blown. He doesn't stop talking about it. He talks to all his friends about it. He's like,
"I love it.
My son's got a horse, and they're all digital."
I got into Zed originally from, I was originally thinking of trying to get into crypto, and then that kind of got overshot by NFTs. So specifically Top Shot and art blocks. And and I saw like ads for Zed while I was in both of those projects. I was like, this is the biggest scam rug pull I've ever heard of in my life. There's no way this is all real and people are making money. Like, come on, this is the biggest joke ever. And then I just kept getting hammered with ads. It's like, okay, you know what? Fine. You broke me down. I'll check it out. And like, oh my gosh, no, like this is a thing. This is real. Like you can do all these things.
Yeah.
I was just blown away.
Yeah, my biggest mistake with Zed Run was when I first came across it a long time ago. I jumped on the website. I still hadn't gotten into NFTs at all. I didn't really know anything about OpenSeas. I looked at the market and it said closed, sold out. And I was like, man, I missed the boat. And I just ignored it.
No.
And like 6-8 months went by. Then I started learning about NFTs. Then I started learning about this stuff. And I was like, wait a minute. The horses are being sold on OpenSeas. I was like, oh man, totally missed the boat on it.
Yeah, that just broke my heart. That made me so sad.
Yeah,
it's wild, man. It's wild.
Yeah, the Discord's been great. I've been on the Discord since then. I joined the Discord. I was able to find out about OpenSeas and all this stuff, and been really great there. And I've had a great time just racing horses. And but like you said, it takes a lot of research. I bought like 4 or 5 horses. Probably should have done a lot more research than I did to buy these horses. Some of them did okay. Other ones didn't do so well. Aren't doing so well. And it's very difficult to recap or make your money back in ETH that you invested into these horses. So investing time into the research is definitely recommended.
Yeah, it's kind of like I look at it like this. It's like buying a project, investing in a project that you truly believe in and that you care about, because at the end of the day, it allows you to be able to stick with it. If you don't give a crap about these horses, nothing about them, whatever, and then you spend a bunch of money on one, you're just going to be irritated because you ultimately are not in a mind frame and a mindset of like, okay, I'm going to actually study and I'm going to actually work and I'm going to actually like research some things that I can do to help give myself a better chance to win. And I think it's cool, MJ, that you've put together a tool that ultimately leads people in that direction and gives them, because I mean, the reality is without your tool, without the couple other tools, the what's it called? Haku. Without Haku, without your tool, I mean, really, let's be real. You are basically looking at a bloodline and maybe their win ratio, right? I mean, there's not really much else there, correct?
Yeah. You're putting a blindfold on and throwing a dart. Yeah.
Yeah, you are totally throwing darts.
Yeah, you got to run it like it's a legit business. Like a legit business.
Yeah. Zed Run is not a flip project at all.
Oh,
not in the slightest.
Yeah, I think a lot of people look at it and say, oh, cool, I bet I can just get in here and buy a horse and just start winning races, which is actually, in fairness, I kind of thought that, right? And then when Miguel presented to me like, hey, listen, there is a lot here. And you need to look at this and this and this and this. And I was like, right. I had no idea.
So. Yeah, man, because you go to YouTube and you search up Zed Run and you'll see all these thumbnails and these videos saying how to make $5,000 playing Zed Run, how to make this with Zed Run.
All the clickbaity titles.
Yeah. And then, they might actually be making somewhat close to that, but their situation is going to be a lot more different than your situation jumping in right now.
Yeah, what was their initial investment?
Right.
Like how much money did they throw into it?
Yeah, exactly. That's like a gambling addict telling you how much he's won, but the reality is he will never tell you about what he actually invested on the front end. He just tells you what he actually won, right? Even though he spent more than he won.
Yeah,
that's definitely for sure. So. MJ, do you have any? I think we're going to close out the stream. Do you have any other anything else that you think, like off the top of your head, that you're thinking the people need to know before we jump off here?
No, I'd say if you're interested, check out that white paper, check out the resources page on my site, and just learn. And then
you've got a TikTok as well, right, MJ?
I've got a TikTok. I need to post more on there. Okay. It's MJ_stables. Okay. I'm on Twitter, MJ_stables. Follow me.
So you've got the same name all across platforms.
Yeah, it's either MJ_stables or it's just MJ Stables, one word.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
across all platforms.
Okay.
I'm on Twitch twice, if not more, times a week.
Okay.
And yeah, definitely. Like,
Cool.
please reach out. Ask any question. No question is too stupid, too simple. Like, we've all been there before. Ask me anything you want. I will be more than happy to help out anyone I can.
Yeah, MJ, you've been great, dude. You are in our academy, guy. We have the debatecrypto.academy, guys, and I know MJ. You said that you've been learning a lot there, which is awesome too. And you've been great as far as interacting with people and whatnot. So we're glad to have you, Crypto Fam. If nobody's told you before tonight, we freaking love you. We hope you guys have a great night, and until next.